with lab groups, with control groups, then it needs to be solid, because not everybody's going to look up your shit, but somebody might. So just be ready for that. I always encourage you guys to correct me when I make mistakes on this show. I make them routinely. One time I listed a list of 10 logical fallacies that you can commit or make, and Barco said that he could take my show and find an example of each 10. Now, I think that's probably not true, but I'll bet he could have found 6 or 7. But then again, I never claimed I didn't commit them. I just said you need to be aware of them. So, yeah, I commit them. Definitely something I try to cut down on constantly, though. I am never looking to be caught up in a logical fallacy. Cliché thinking, using as evidence a well-known wise saying, as if it is proven, or as if it has no exceptions. And the last one we'll do tonight, I skipped over a couple. Not sure why. False calls, confusing correlation. Oh my God. Yes, this is the perfect one to end on. What do you hear all the time? What's the new buzzword in the world of arguments? Correlation does not equal causation. Well, you want to know the truth about this? I got a secret for you. Most people knew that. Most people knew that. Just because A happens and then B happens, you cannot say that A caused B. You have to show that A caused B. Because the truth is, A or B may be completely unrelated and just coincidentally occurring at the same time or in a similar proximity. Also, A and B could be symptoms of F, but you haven't gotten to F yet, so you wouldn't know that. So what you have with A and B is not causation if F was the source. You have correlation, meaning their action correlates with each other. But that doesn't mean one is causing the other. Very important to understand this, especially when you get into arguments about religion and science. We'll talk about it a little bit. I'm just going to go ahead and read what they say here, because they actually spend about a paragraph on this. Earthquakes in the Andes were correlated with the closest approach of the planet Uranus. Therefore, Uranus must have caused them. But Jupiter is nearer than Uranus and more massive too. When sales of hot chocolate go up, street crime drops. Does this correlation mean that hot chocolate prevents crime? No. It means that fewer people are on the streets when the weather is cold. Or at least that's what they say. You'd have to prove that too. The bigger a child's shoe size, the better the child's handwriting. Does having big feet make it easier to write? No. It means the child is older. That's also something you'd have to prove, but true. Understanding the difference between correlation and causation is critical, because what it does is the average person, once they see A and B doing something either proportional or inversely proportional, they think they've got it solved. The smarter person might go check out C and D and say, shit, C and D's not causing it. Keep on going, because you may find that there really is another cause of both A and B that make A and B relative to each other only in what they're doing, not in cause. Neither one of them is affecting the other, but you actually have gone so far as to say one of them is causing the other, when really F is down there, and these two things are happening dependent entirely upon what F does, and they happen to be correlated proportionally or inversely proportional. One goes up, the other goes down, or one goes up, the other goes up. All right? Knowing the difference between correlation and causation can help you get through a religious and science argument faster than goose shit through a tin horn. Pow! So that might be one of the ones you want to put in your top to remember. We're going to do more of this. I love this stuff. This stuff just... As long as you're not using it just as a weapon, as long as you're using it to recognize your own thinking flaws and try to correct them. And the idea is what? It is to get better information into your head, a more accurate picture of reality. And when you decide, as I've said so many times on the show before, that you want to set that reality aside and go play in Fantasyland, I don't blame you a fucking bit. Reality can be boring as shit. Truth itself, at its purest form, can be very depressing. There's a lot of ugliness in truth. So I encourage people, once they start getting a good foundation under them of real truth, don't be afraid to set it down. Just know that's what you're doing, and then you can go walk out and play in Fantasyland. But there are too many people out in Fantasyland right now that are looking at their fantasy world and saying, this is accurate. This is exactly how it is. And they haven't bothered to dig a little bit deeper to see what's reliable information and what isn't. And that's what we do here together. That's what I enjoy doing with you. And occasionally also talking about giant French vaginas. I can't avoid that. I mean, that's just part of who I am. And for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, I might have a little treat for you tonight. Let's see what I can find here. Have you ever thought about what a walking vagina would look like? I'm losing my mind, folks. I'm sorry. Have you ever thought of what a walking vagina would look like? I mean, first of all, it would just kind of look like two long legs with like so the clit. It looked like a little sailor's hat or like a little French hat on top. Hello, I'm a vagina. I'm a vagina. Welcome to France. Do you smell the poisson? Yeah, well, we had a little laugh there, didn't we? You know, and I did. I made a little sound clip out of it because I like to laugh, folks. I watch, I don't know, I've told some of you guys this before, I like slapstick comedy. I'm not real big on the intellectual comedy. I just want to see people fall the fuck down. I laugh when I fall down. I laugh when others fall down. I remember when I was a kid, there was this real short story here. There, up at my elementary school, there was a flagpole, and it had a weird kind of a square around it, like a big brick square with benches where you could kind of like sit around the flagpole. I don't know if we were like into statist worship or what, but this had a flag cable on it, and you could sit in the cable and swing around the flagpole because it had a swivel. So we would run, and then, you know, swing up in the air, and then it would come down low enough to run, get some speed and swing up. Well, we did this all the time on Saturdays and Sundays because I lived just a couple blocks from the school, and we'd go up there and play basketball and stuff, or wall ball or baseball or whatever. And sure enough, I got on it one time. Just a routine day. I'd probably spend 100 hours of my life on this thing already. I get up enough speed, and snap goes the cable. Snap goes the cable. And I fly. And I land on the concrete on my ass. And I was about 10 years old. And when I landed, it hurt like hell. Like, my ribs hurt, and I didn't even hit my ribs. Everything got, like, really bounced, and I couldn't breathe for a second. And my friend, my black friend, TT, he comes running up. He goes, "Hey, Kev, you okay?" I said, "Yeah, I think so." And he looked at me for a second, and I was breathing all right and everything, and I got up. He busted out laughing like a mofo. I tried to laugh and almost died because I couldn't laugh. I couldn't barely breathe. So if you've never seen a kid with the wind knocked out of them trying to laugh, imagine it, and then you might have a semi-accurate picture of what my childhood was like. Lots of laughter. Laughter's a good thing, man. Don't you think so? I think so. I think all kinds of laughter is good, to be honest with you. All kinds. Yeah, we need a lot of that. The more you can get, the better. Show me laugh. And then, there we go. Somebody farted. So we're going to end that on a happy note. Again, this was a steering the show, reshaping the show, starting back on the path that I first found what little success I have on, and that I enjoy. I enjoy talking to you guys about logic. I enjoy learning from you, and believe it or not, I know you're not going to believe this, but it's true. I like being corrected because I feel like I'm getting free pointers from people that have done the research. Stabby's pretty good with this. He will pop up with these sources that I had not seen before and get me thinking differently about the stuff that he talks about. So I'm glad to see it looks like Stabby and Apocalypse have made up. That's important to me, because you both add to the conversation here. The fallacy is another one we need to talk about too. We'll do that. Good show, my niggas, and fun chat, says Apocalypse. Good show, says Stabby. Thank you. Andrew, how you doing? You going to Second Life now? To the new people that came to the show, hope you enjoyed it. Maybe you'll targeted individual. Yeah, I have heard of that, dying orphan, and I happen to know somebody right now that's a targeted individual. That's all I can say about that. I mean, we all have our secrets. Is he the most interesting person on here and doesn't do a show? Andrew. I know, Andrew. Why don't you do a show? What's it going to take for us to get you to do a show, Andrew? We would all be there faithfully. You know that. What's it going to take? What would get you fired up enough to actually want to press record and start talking? And I'm also curious, did Stabby ever do a show? I mean, Stabby's loaded up with factoids and intelligent discourse. Why doesn't he do a show? What's up with that? RD has the voice. He's intelligent, but from what I hear, he just likes to come on and talk for like 3 minutes and then play songs. You know, when someone's doing talk radio, most of the time, in my experience, they're going to be drawing off of either repetition, shit they've already said, or shit off the top of their head. I mean, I have to use these sources. I couldn't just sit here and talk to you. What would I tell you? Fucking military stories or... you know, I would just be talking, just making up shit, talking about shit. But being that the format is truth, I have to make sure that anything I'm trying to sell you has some evidence with it, you know. And I think a lot of the truth I try to expose, contrary to the popular belief about this show, is that we are so flawed in our thinking that it's not even funny. And this, you know, shows like tonight's kind of shine some light on that. And what it helps us to do is two things. One, it helps us to recognize when we're hearing bullshit. And another thing is it helps us to put our own thoughts in check. In other words, am I using a logical fallacy right now, an argumentative fallacy, to try to sell a point instead of relying on evidence and context to make it clear? Because if you really believe in any point, and you believe in it strongly, like you have emotion tied to it, you should have a good, solid well of support for it, and you should have already figured out good rebuttals for any opposition to it, if you believe in it that strongly. You don't want to believe in something super strongly and then not have anything really to back it up. You know, like, there was a lady on the video series I shared with you guys about World Trade Center 7. She held up a poster almost all day, according to this videographer, that said, "Don't forget World Trade Center 7." And when he questioned her about it, all she knew is that it fell straight down. She didn't know any of the surrounding context of what might have caused that. And if you're really going to be stuck to an idea like that, it's important that you come in prepared. Otherwise, don't be so adhered to just that idea. Go wider in your scope, and that way that allows for more ambiguity without your credibility being called into question and possibly destroyed. You don't want that to happen in a courtroom or in a social court. You don't want that to happen. So I don't know is always a safe answer, especially if it's the truth. I don't understand that concept too well if you know a little about it, but you're not ready to put forth an opinion on it. Or I do understand it. Here's what I think with what I know so far. It's the definitive claim, when you don't have the definitive proof, that puts you under suspicion to the logical thinking mind as far as your credibility. And the more you put forth something strong without strong support, the less credibility will be extended to you. Got to have some evidence for that stuff. Or otherwise, just call it opinion, and then you're given a pass. If you're telling me, look, this is just my opinion, I'll listen to everything you have to say with just about zero judgments. But I might have some questions as to where you got your belief from. I want to know if that came from a source, or if it's just more of a feeling you have, or what you were taught as a kid by your parents or schools or coaches. These are the categories of experience and education that we come into when we really start thinking about everything you find in the human mind regarding knowledge. And then you get into the complexities of emotion mixing in, chemical balance and imbalance, psychological disorders and disturbances. All of these things come into play to make a big pile of brown soup that is nearly impossible to dissect perfectly by anyone. And each bowl of soup is different. So if we can learn to respect each other's differences, to respect that there's a big bowl of soup that we don't really understand going on up there, and to learn to think more clearly, especially the most important part is being able to filter out the bullshit, because there's so much of that it hurts your chance to get a good education. It really does. So anytime you get a chance to help people stop spreading myths, if you see some stupid story on Facebook and you go to Snopes and you trust what Snopes is saying, spread that shit around. Say, look, you can send them a private message if you don't want to embarrass them.